Welcome back to the Sovereign Ratio. Today I'm going to attempt to bridge a gap between fitness, crypto trading, and how both can work together to make you profits. We're going to look at science, we're going to look at charts and emotions, and then we're going to look at some ideas for home that can facilitate a synergy between both. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and leave me a comment below. Now, if you're a person that thinks science is boring, I ask you, please continue watching and get all the way through to the end, and I think you'll really see how this comes full circle between trading, exercise, and science itself. As I've stated in previous videos, looking at a chart on TradingView is simply looking at the emotions and decision-making of other people. If you see a lot of buying and you see a lot of selling, that required a decision. And people tend to keep their money and finances very close to them. It's a very close part of who they are, and they don't like to lose money, and they like to gain money. But the problem is that most people actually fail in trading because they do the opposite of what they should do at the exact wrong time. A lot of people like to buy tops and sell bottoms, and that's generally how the 10% of traders that are extremely successful are successful, is because they understand the psychology of when things are going down and there's a lot of bad news, it's the best time to buy, and when things are going up and there's a lot of euphoria, that's the best time to sell. And that's clearly represented here. If we just look at the top of the last bull run, imagine all the euphoria that people were experiencing here up at the 69K area. And that's actually reflective of the crypto fear and greed index. Whenever those values are up in the 80s and 90s, there's just this euphoria going on, and people don't understand that they're getting ready to get dumped on. There's actually a lot of people that buy up in these areas because they're just starting to hear about it from friends and family and on the news. But essentially what I'm getting at is this is a representation of human emotion right here. And the people that are way ahead of that and do the opposite of what most people do are the ones that are successful. That being said, it's also to note that our general mood, our stress levels, our feelings of happiness, our anxiety are all controlled by hormones. For those of us that work from home or stare at charts all day like I do, or both, it can be challenging to get the exercise needed to keep the proper hormones going through our system that keep all of those things regulated. And cardio, weightlifting, and other forms of exercise help us release a lot of hormones that regulate our mood and our well-being. Some of those hormones are also very good for helping us control emotion, because generally that emotion that we were talking about on the chart is caused by feelings of stress and anxiety. And the worst thing that you can be as a trader is an emotional trader. And I'm guilty of it just like everybody else is. There's times where FOMO is really hitting you hard and you're like, I have to get in, I'm going to miss out. And 9 out of 10 times when you do something like that, you're going to lose. It's going to be the top or close to the top. Happens all the time, and that's how people end up losing. What's important here is figuring out ways to regulate our hormones that control all of those emotions during the trading process. So instead of just going off the cuff, I actually have an article pulled up here that kind of helps guide us through this. I think everybody, for the most part, knows what human growth hormone is, and that doesn't have a lot of applicability to trading. However, during the exercise process, one thing that happens is the release of endorphins. And as you can see, it says right here, they're the feel-good emotions. They're released during like eating, special time with a partner, and exercise. And they help boost your mood and reduce feelings of stress and anxiety by acting as kind of like a natural pain reliever. And they also activate the same part of the brain that morphine does, which we know that morphine is definitely a feel-good drug. And there's actually new research that endorphins actually activate the same part of the brain that THC does for that relaxed, feel-good type of mentality, which would definitely be good in an emotional market trading atmosphere to have a nice level head when trying to make buying and selling decisions, day trading or long term. Something else that's obviously released during exercise for both men and women is testosterone. Now, that doesn't necessarily have a massive boost on emotional trading, but what it does do is provide confidence for people as they see their bodies get larger, more muscular, or even just more lean, due to the release of testosterone and human growth hormone. Now, obviously, men are going to have a much higher release of this than women, but it also does help women tremendously. And it's not that men only get testosterone. We actually have a small release of estrogen as well during the entire workout process. And that's healthy for both genders. And in this particular instance, while it doesn't affect the emotionality of trading, it does affect one's confidence level and general mood for their own appearance, strength, and just overall fitness level. Now, the most important part of this is not actually hormone release, it's neurotransmitter release. And the two most important ones for what we're going to talk about today are dopamine and serotonin. And both are released to a certain extent during and after exercise. In fact, if you're looking for a deep dive and want to learn more about dopamine and serotonin beyond the brief glimpse that we're going to look at today, I'm putting a video picture up here from Dr. Andrew Huberman, who is one of the absolute best YouTube channels to watch for anything hormone, fitness, or neurotransmitter related. Because of this is why working out consistently is such a good idea, because the release of dopamine motivates us to work out more. Continually working out, at least on a schedule, keeps that dopamine flowing through, keeping motivation going to continue doing it. The other neurotransmitter released during exercise is serotonin, which is believed to regulate overall mood, digestion, and sleep. And regulating our mood is probably the number one thing that we want to do in the trading process to remain unemotional. We want to remove any stress and anxiety that we have prior to making a trading decision. That way we don't make an irrational or emotional one. Exercise also helps to reduce cortisol, which is the stress hormone itself. So generally, the less cortisol we have, the better we feel in general and the more regulated our entire mood is. While this video is not focused on nutrition, it's more focused on exercise, I do want to briefly mention that eating an anti-inflammatory lifestyle is another good way to reduce those types of emotions, stress, and anxiety, because while inflammation is typically associated with the body, whether you have inflammation, in your skin, you have inflammation in your muscles, inflammation everywhere, a lot of people don't consider brain inflammation, and that is really a thing. And eating anti-inflammatory foods like tomatoes, fruits, nuts, olive oil, leafy greens, and fatty fish like salmon are really good foods for anti-inflammatory diet. Not to mention they're just good for fitness in general. You want to avoid things like soda, pizza, hot dogs, frozen foods, those kind of things, because those do cause inflammation within our body. And inflammation is generally something that we want almost none of in our body. So you might say to yourself, well, that's all great, but what am I supposed to do to solve this problem? And how am I supposed to get more exercise when I can't break away from charts, or I work from home, or whatever the case may be, where I don't have opportunities throughout the day to do that, especially if I'm a trader? Well, I have a few solutions. And the first one that I'm going to present right now is what I'm doing right here. This is what I do all day. I stand. I don't sit down, and the reason for that is because standing per hour burns around 13 to 21 more calories than sitting down does. So if you're working throughout the course of the day, if you look at charts for 8 hours or you work from home for 8 hours, that's up to 100 calories, 120 calories or so just standing instead of sitting. While that may not seem like a lot, there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat, so you can actually burn fat just by standing over time, providing that your diet is in check as well and you're not eating over your total daily energy expenditure. But on top of that, standing is also keeping you alert, it's keeping you focused, but you're also not sitting down feeling lethargic. You're standing up, alert, and ready to go for whatever happens next. So tip number one is just stand up more. Tip number two is just as easy as tip number one. In the middle of the day, whenever the charts or your job give you an opportunity, just go outside and go for a walk. Walking is a fantastic way to both release those endorphins that we were talking about and neurotransmitters, as well as burn calories. Walking is something that basically anyone can do that isn't super obese, that will provide those benefits. And once you have a nice 20-minute walk, you can come right back in and you're already probably going to be feeling better, less stressed, and less anxious. So do me a favor, if you're feeling FOMO, go for a walk, do some jumping jacks, do something to get that heart rate up and some of those neurotransmitters so you can regulate your mood a little bit better before you make that decision. Now, everything else I'm going to talk about right now does require a little bit of investment on your part, but I definitely think it's worth it in the middle of the day when you're looking at trading and you're feeling anxious or stressed out, which we all do from time to time. This is going to require a little bit of an investment, but I think it's worth it in the end, and I think you'll see that it's worth it in the end. Now, first of all, you can't see it because it's in the other room. But if you are successful in crypto and have the funds to do so, I think purchasing a piece of cardio equipment in your house is a wonderful idea, whether that be an elliptical or a treadmill or whatever. There's personally not a day that goes by where I don't do at least an hour on my elliptical at full resistance and about 3/4 tilt. And the reason for that is because of the obvious fitness benefits, but also the endorphin and hormone release that comes with that, making me feel a lot better and a lot more level-headed. The second thing you can do is simply invest in some weights. After COVID, weights did get more expensive. It used to be about $1 a pound for weights, and since then I've seen it as high as $2 or $3 a pound for weights. But you also don't have to be buying huge dumbbells. So for me, I actually keep some weights right here on the floor next to me. If I'm feeling stressed or anxious throughout the day, I can grab one of those and bang out a couple of hard sets while I stand right here in front of my computer and go right back to work. So for example, I have right here below me, I have an 80-pound dumbbell. If I'm in the middle of my day feeling stressed out, I can just do something like this. Grab that thing, put it over my head, and do some overhead triceps extensions. Bang out 10 or 12 of those, and then maybe I want to superset it. I can grab it here, and I can curl it too. Just like that. A few sets of that, And I would almost guarantee that you'll be feeling a little bit better because you've gotten that energy out of your system, that tension, that nervousness, that anxiety. Little things like that can go a long way before you make a trade. Another great example is something that's not even an iron weight. On Amazon, you can go and get these little bands and keep them right by your computer. If you're feeling stressed, anxious, whatever throughout the day, you can simply just put the band on the floor and step on it. And then there's a number of things that you can do after that. You could do something like an upright row to work your shoulders, do some of those. You could actually just curl it as well, because all the weight is, your body weight is holding the band down on the floor. You can just curl bands. You could do tons of different exercises with just having a few resistance bands as well. There's a lot of ways that you can make a small investment and tailor something to your particular setup or office that would work. You know, maybe you don't need an 80-pound dumbbell. Maybe you just need a pair of 15s and you want to do some lateral raises. Or maybe you want to grab a 30-pound dumbbell and do some goblet squats. There's a lot of different options that don't require you to go anywhere, and you can go right back to your computer. Maybe you take a break every 5 minutes and do a set of something throughout the day. That does go a long way in helping regulate that tension and release those endorphins. Now, obviously, optimally, having a gym membership and regularly going to a gym on a consistent basis would probably provide more benefit than actually sitting here at home and doing that. But if you're one of those people that is extremely busy, you're a day trader, you're active, you work from home, these little solutions are great ways to take a break every now and then and actually get a workout in throughout the day. Maybe your rest periods are a little bit longer than what they would be in the gym, but you can still get the benefit of muscular hypertrophy. While the correlation between trading and fitness may not seem apparent or important, it definitely is, and it's important in every aspect in our lives to regulate those hormones and just overall be healthier. The person that you want to be is the person that buys here and not the person that buys here. Whether this is the weekly chart, the daily chart, or maybe you're trading the 5-minute chart. Having tension, anxiety, and stress from looking at this stuff, which we all know crypto can cause a lot of tension, anxiety, and stress because of its volatile nature, having an ace up your sleeve in the form of being fit and having regulated anxiety is a great tool to have and will make you a more successful trader. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, leave me a comment below. Let me know in the comments below what you do to solve this problem, and we'll see you in the next video. Safe trading.